Hi guys, I'm Anissa and I'm back with another video. Today is another wrap-up video and today I'm gonna be talking about books 18 to book 21. As I said in my previous video, I'm gonna do 4 for these next couple of ones until I reach 25, and from there on I'll be doing 5 book reviews per video. That's what I wanted to say. And so now I've finished another 4 books and I'm ready to get into those. The 18th book that I finished in 2017 was Freaks by Amanda Hocking. This is the 3rd book I've read by her, and this book follows this girl called Mara, who is part of this traveling circus. Her mom is actually a psychic and sort of one of the main people surrounding the circus. And one day they arrive in this small town and everything sort of seems a little strange and things starts to occur that they weren't really expecting. And also some people it seems like they want them out, and some other people want them to stay, so they don't really know what is going on and what it's all about. Also, all of the people who's part of the circus or the carnival, whatever you want to call it, they all have one thing in common. They are looked at as freaks because they're not just your normal person. They have some odd part of them. They can be, some of them have an enhanced power, so they don't really seem like your average normal human being. And so they seek this circus or carnival because they can feel like they have a home, they have somewhere to be. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the story. I thought that was really interesting that all of these characters found this place that they could call home after they had some terrible childhoods and family who wanted to disown them and all of that. There's also this love story, obviously, where she meets this boy who lives in this town, and they have quite an insta-lovey romance, which I'm not always super fan of, but he was an interesting character and I thought that their dynamics was okay. I found the mystery element of what was happening, what was it that was raiding their camps at night and trying to kill the animals. There was some sort of animal, they couldn't find out what it was, but it was attacking them and their tigers in the carnival and all of that, and I enjoyed following that aspect. Who was it? And I sadly found out who was behind it all pretty quickly. I just didn't know how that person was and why. I just knew that person had something to do with it, and that was a little sad in the overall enjoyment of this. I mean, I said this was the 3rd Amanda Hocking book that I've read so far, and I feel like this is my least favorite. I'm happy this was a standalone because I don't need more series in my life, so for that. And I like the circus sort of environment. I think it's really always interesting, and it's actually set in the 80s or 70s, I believe. So it's not set in this time period completely, and I found that interesting as well. But I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The 19th book that I read this year, in 2017, was One for the Money by Janet Evanovich. This is the first book in the Stephanie Plum series. The Stephanie Plum series is a very, very popular series. This has 23 or 24 books out currently, and a lot of people have been talking about it on my GOODREADS feed. And they absolutely love these books, and yeah, so I wanted to check out what was the hype all about, and if it was the sort of feel that I was looking for, I knew I'd have something I could go to if I wanted a light, quick and fast read, and I feel like that's what I got here. This series follows Stephanie Plum. Yeah, she has lost her job, so she's looking out for a new job. Stephanie ends up taking a job as a bounty hunter, and her first job is to catch Joe Morelli, who is wanted because of he's committed a murder. And so yeah, she thinks this is just gonna be a walk in the park because she knows this Morelli guy, she has a history with him, and so she knows that she can just walk up there and get him in, and she can get her $10,000 paycheck that she'll get for catching Morelli. But obviously this proves a lot more difficult than first thought, because Joe Morelli is a really smart guy and he knows that what Stephanie's out of, and he knows how to play her and all of those things, and it ends up that everything isn't exactly as it seems, and someone starts to stalk Stephanie during all of this, and then the mystery sort of turns around and it's someone else that they're trying to find out who actually was the culprit of this whole mystery, why Joe Morelli ended up shooting that guy. I overall really enjoyed the mystery element. I thought it was pretty interesting to follow. I didn't sort of figure it out by the end. I hadn't figured it all out, definitely. I thought it was someone else. So that was an interesting aspect of it. And I thought the bickering between Joe and Stephanie was really fun to follow as well. I thought they were really, really funny. Interesting characters, and I thought the humor in these stories was really, really fun. So this is definitely the book that I'll go for if you want a quick and humorous book with a fun mystery added to it. One of the fun things I noticed about this series was that it's published back in '94, and since we live in 2017 now, we're so used to just having a cell phone at our hands and stuff, and obviously in '94 we didn't have that, so I was like, why don't you just call these people with your cell phone? Why don't you have a cell phone? And it was like, I just have to sort of get back to that time period and find out, oh yeah, you didn't have that back then. So that was really fun to sort of explore. But yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed this book and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The 20th book that I read in 2017 was Fire Study by Marie V. Snyder, which is the 3rd book in the Study trilogy. This trilogy follows Yelena, who is basically sentenced to death, and then she gets this option. She can become the food taster for the commander, and obviously a lot of people want to kill the commander, so there's often poison in the food, so she knows she has to sort of study all sort of poison, so she knows which sort of antidotes to take to. Yeah, and then she discovers that she has some sort of magic, and it's very forbidden to have this magic in this world, and so, yeah. She has to hide this so that she doesn't get killed for that as well. I've done a non-spoilery review of this trilogy, so if you want a more thorough review of the series overall, I'll leave a link on at the card symbol, and as well as in the down bar below as well, so you can check that out if you want a more thorough review of it. I overall really ended up enjoying it. I think I ended up on a 4.75 stars and rounding it up to a 5 stars because I really, really enjoyed this trilogy, and yeah, this is the YA trilogy that I've read so far. The 21st book that I read in 2017 was Rivermark by Patricia Briggs. This is the 6th book in the Mercy Thompson series. The Mercy Thompson series is one of my absolute favorite series, and it follows some of my favorite characters, Mercy and Adam, who are my favorite OTPs as well. If you've recently seen that video, you know that. This book, however, felt a little slower than like sort of a filler book compared to the other books. I don't mind filler books in these long series. Sometimes you have to have a book that explores a certain area so that you can get a lot of questions answered, and I feel like that's what we got in this book. I hope this is not too much of a spoiler, but I think you know so far that Mercy and Adam is a couple, and in this book they're gonna get married and on their honeymoon. Yeah, as usual, it doesn't take a lot of time before trouble finds Mercy, because that's always what happens. But I did enjoy that in this book we got a lot more questions answered in regards to her background and her ancestry, because there's a lot of things we don't know about her walker history, because Mercy Thompson is a walker, which means that she can shapeshift into a coyote at will, basically. She doesn't have the same struggles as a regular shapeshifter. She can just shift into a coyote whenever she wants to, without it having any sort of culprit on her as a person. And so far we haven't known about anyone else who has the same power, and I feel in this one we finally got some answers towards her history, and I felt like that was really, really interesting and to read about. But this book was a lot slower than previous books, and so yeah, so it didn't have the same feel as the other books. Also, I missed the pack dynamics and her friendship with Warren and Kyle, as well as Jessie, who is Adam's daughter, and I missed her as well. She has some sort of wit, and I really enjoy Mercy and Jessie's relationship towards each other. But yes, as I said, overall I really enjoyed this book. It was just a lot slower paced than I've been used to, so I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen in the coming books. I feel like they'll be more back to the normal speed of Mercy Thompson books. Yes, but these were the next 4 books in my reading for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you read any of the books and what you thought of them, if you agree with any of my thoughts, and if there's any one of them you want to pick out after what I've said, also let me know about that. Yes, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Goodbye.